Good evening, everyone. So, why are you going from guaranteed money to the restaurant business?
It's a very good question. I think one of the worst things someone can do is to stay in a career just for a paycheck or just for health benefits, and to stay in a dead end job just for that reason. So as I know the restaurant industry, it can be hit or miss, can be 50-50 fail rate, and paychecks not always guaranteed for at least a couple of years. But I do feel that I always wanted something to call my own, and like I love the creative aspect of it. I have a lot to learn for sure, but I just feel that I am on the path that I was supposed to be on at this point in my life.
And we'll be back in a minute with the full story. Welcome to episode number 49 of Michael Robert Live. As always, please share your thoughts and comments and we will address them throughout the show and during our live Q&A section towards the end of each episode. If you have a question, piece of advice, or story to share with us, you can also call in with the number provided later in the show. Hi, Sue. Hi, Gail. Hi, Mom. Thank you guys for commenting so far. Good to see you. So, Chris is the founder of In the Pink, a new health-focused smoothie and acai, is that how I say it? Bar, which will be
Acai.
opening very soon on Thayer Street in Providence. This is Chris's first venture and a bold new risk he is making during a very uncertain time. What did you do for 15 years before doing this?
And his first podcast.
Yep, sure is.
So we're really impressed with his ability to take charge, go from being really comfortable to just going for it.
Stepping out of my comfort zone. Yep.
So where does that come from? Like, what made you, why now?
I guess it was just felt like I was running in place for about 10 years or so. No same pay, same responsibilities, and it was almost as if I don't know exactly what it was, but one day it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I just said, I cannot do this anymore. I need more. I need like something new in my life. I need just a different direction. I need direction, at all. So I just quit. I left, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I started looking into franchising, and that brought me to this route of restaurant ownership.
What was your wife like?
Very supportive.
Oh,
Yep.
so you're fortunate.
Very supportive.
Wow.
Awesome.
Even when you were, even during the move into
Yeah.
your mother-in-law's
Yeah.
house?
Yeah. So it wasn't supposed to be, we actually didn't have the intention of selling to move there and start a business. I was trying to time the real estate market like everyone else
Right.
about 15, 16 months ago.
Right.
Sell at the height. Okay, I'll move in maybe a year or two at the most. I didn't know I'd be quitting my job and starting a restaurant.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't even know at that point.
Oh.
So I was, okay, I'll like take on more responsibility at work, and everything's gonna, the trajectory is just gonna go up, and we'll buy it once the market comes down, we'll have you saved even more money and buy our forever home. It's just not the way things worked out at all.
But in a way, you were already putting that out there
Yeah.
to set this all up, to give you the space and opportunity.
Absolutely. So if I never left and I still had the mortgage over my head and all the bills, it would have been much harder for me to quit working for the family business and just go on this venture, if not impossible.
So wait a minute, can you remember the day that the dream started for you?
I can, yes. And it was about a month or so after I left. And I originally was looking into franchising. I was looking at all areas of franchising, medical businesses and literally anything. But then I got onto the quick service restaurant, and I know there's a lot of work. It's a real lot of work. And then once I got into the minutia of franchising and the royalty fees and the franchise fee, which it's all pretty standard, but I just really didn't want to be the one to do all the work, working 100 hours a week and multiple stores just to give a lot of money back to the franchisor. So I decided to do my own concept, and I remembered going on vacation down to Florida, California, the West Coast, and I know that acai bowls and all this health conscious stuff is very popular over there. Not so much up here. It hasn't really made its way up to Rhode Island yet as much. So that's the area
Shocker.
I decided to go. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Hate to everything. Yep.
So, what is an acai bowl?
So acai it's a superfood. It's a berry from Amazon, and it's just very nutritious for you. It's high antioxidants, helps with weight loss, blood pressure, diabetes. Just very healthy berry that is grown in the Amazon.
And the process for you,
Mhm.
has that been more pleasurable, more anxiety ridden, more
I would say it's
am I
been
crazy?
it's been pleasurable, and I'm just getting to the anxiety ridden state for this past week in the upcoming month or so.
Because,
It's really starting to all come together. All the money's having to be spent,
right?
equipment, and I'm getting into the store hopefully within like a week or so. And so that's when the real work's gonna be done. But it's been a process, and it's been a lot of work up to this point, and a lot of research and a lot of networking, a lot of sourcing. So that hasn't been as anxiety inducing as you said. But now I'm getting to the part where everything is the puzzle's coming together.
So,
It's even more work.
the name,
Mhm.
how did you come to it? What was that whole process? What's the story? What's the backdrop?
So I literally was just brainstorming, pad and paper. I was writing every generic juice bar name you've ever heard, raw blends, raw juice, juice freeze, just everything you could think of. And nothing was sticking out to me. Started Googling synonyms. What I usually do is I'll go on Microsoft Word, and I use the thesaurus there, and I just put a bunch of words on the page on the document, and end up looking up synonyms on each word to try to put them together. So it's writing all them out, and then a synonym for healthy came up at the bottom. It was a phrase, in the pink. And I said, oh, I've never heard of that before. And it really almost like jumped off the page at me. And I just felt that there was something to it. So I wrote it down, I put it in the corner, but I kind of shelved it because immediately that voice in the back of my head said to me, you cannot name your store In the Pink. Everyone's going to think this. People are going to think it's, sexual innuendos, this and that. So just wrote it off to the corner of the pad, and, I kept on coming up with these generic names.
I think people will probably walk into your store because they.
Yeah, they're going to say, wow, what is that place?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then about a week or so later, I was meeting with my partner to go over, just the progress of what I've been doing.
Business partner.
Yeah, business partner. Yep. And he said, okay, so you get anywhere with a name yet? I pulled out the little pad I had with all these names on it. I started reading them all off. He's looking at the pad. He was as uninterested to hear them as I was to read them. And he said, he's like, I think you got to go back to the drawing board. He said, you know what you do? He said, just Google synonyms for like fresh. I said, well, I did that for healthy and fit. I Googled synonyms for healthy and fit. I said, this phrase came up I really, really like. I said, but it's pretty unorthodox. It's kind of like out of left field. He said, what is it? I said, In the Pink. And he immediately, that's it. He said, that is your name. He said, I love it. He said, we're done. That's the name. And I was like, really? He said, yeah. He's like, it fits the area. He's like, it's going to create buzz. He said, that is 100% the name.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, I said, do you even want to? I said, do you want to know what it means? He said, I don't need to, but sure, go ahead. Yeah, he didn't even want to know. He said, I don't need to know, but sure, go ahead.
No, wait a minute.
You guys all want to know what it means? In the pink?
In the Pink.
All right, we'll keep you on that cliffhanger, but I want to ask you this. So acai bowls, so far as I've heard, and I think I've seen pictures, they look on the sweeter side.
Yes.
Are these things really healthy?
They have pretty high content of sugar and carbs, but
Okay.
fat content is good. And they are energizing, so they can feed your energy levels. They, like I said, they definitely do have higher carb values. But as far as other options, as in slices of pizza, a steak and cheese grinder,
It's all about what you stack it up
fries,
against.
yes, it's a much healthier option than that.
Speaking of your business partner, it seems like you have many mentors in this. But first of all, what is the Reason behind In the Pink, the name.
So in the pink is a phrase that means in very good health and spirits. And it is also an expression meaning peak of health or an optimal state. So it's similar to in the red, in the black, in the green, in the pink. It makes me think of like a body and like organs too, like healthy organs or bright, vibrant pink. And it's also been used in the financial world here and there for an investment. You know, when an investment is in the pink, it's as good as it's going to get. It's at its peak. It's at its optimal position. You know, it's when you sell it.
Before it hits
and
the
it's
red?
pink. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
What a
I've never heard that
cool-
before. Yeah.
hmm
Cool name.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you've ever had an acai bowl, type acai, which is just ACAI, in the comment box. I'd love to see how many people have had one.
And if you haven't, come on in and try one when we open.
Yes, sometime around June 1st.
And the links and all the specifics will be at the end of the.
Yeah, he's hiring also. So
Yes.
if you're in the job market,
Mm-hmm.
there's a link on his website, which is inthepinkri.com. So how did you go ahead?
So, okay, we're here. You're about to open. Tell me when you started to get, oh my God, I can't do this another day. Where did you rally? Or how did you rally? Or what's
kids.
this? The kids.
Yeah, my kids. Yeah.
So tell
Just a
me.
better life for my kids, provide for my kids. You know, I could have been okay. I'm perfectly happy making what I make, and I'll have a decent life, you know, comfortable at best. But I want to provide for my kids. I want them to have a great life, do better than I ever did, and that's really was my driver and motivating factor.
And you have another one on the way.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When does that?
October 2nd is the due date.
Oh wow.
hmm
Okay.
So,
Soon,
Yeah.
soon.
yep.
Bubsy, and so how many months will you be? June, January, February, March,
Yeah,
April, May,
uh,
June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So 6. Oh no, you said October.
Yes. So,
So the 2 less than.
yeah, about 4 months into opening a new business.
There you go. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for the math.
Oh.
Very, very busy boy. Yep.
So do you like that? Do you work at your peak
Under pressure.
I do.
or your
Yeah.
pink level?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do-
Exactly.
Do you
I
work
work
at
in
your
the pink.
level
Yes.
The pink level.
Under
when you
pressure.
have
Hashtag the pink level.
too much going on, or are you?
I definitely get stressed out, but I'm able to zone in and check things off a list and get them done. And it's like it's definitely a bit of a mental struggle sometimes when things get too like bogged down, but I do perform better in that state. Yes.
Where do you go to disengage from that? Physically, mentally, emotionally, like how does that happen for you?
So it used to be the gym, which I haven't since COVID. I have not really been getting too much exercise in. But other than that, I really just like to be alone in that situation. I've been looking into meditation. I definitely want to start meditation. So that's something I think that's going to help me tremendously, you know, after opening the business and having all this stress and all this new stress that's going to be thrown into my life. That's something that I'm going to start practicing.
Is mommy commenting already, Julius?
No, not yet.
We'll be happy to share
Yeah.
something with you
Yeah.
after the.
Bubsy7 says, I've had many acai bowls, usually very tasty and feel healthier than lots of other choices.
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Good to
Awesome.
hear. Thanks for sharing that with us, Sue. So, how did you spend your time growing up? And how did that impact who you are today? You grew up in Cranston.
I did.
For us who are local Rhode Islanders, that's where all the good food is now.
So I grew up in a normal middle class neighborhood. I spent a lot of my time outside with my friends, exploring the woods, riding our bikes from Cranston to Warwick to Coventry, just all over, you know, out till past the streetlights came on, which is a lot different than how a lot of kids are growing up today, you know. But I had a very normal childhood that started works for my father after in the summers, after when school was out, starting around 15, 16. Spent most of my summers doing that. Then I would travel to see my grandmother in New Jersey. She had moved down to Point Pleasant, Seaside Heights. That was always like the highlight of the summer. I would go down there for about 2 weeks with my cousins.
That's the Jersey Shore,
Yep.
Julius.
Yeah, I'm not good at
Famous
geography. That's
Jersey
why he
Shore.
jumped in with that one.
Famous Jersey
But it was
Shore.
before any of that. It was before all of that. But I had a very normal childhood. I did.
Did it? So
The influence your parents had on you. Do you go there for strength? Do you go there? These are questions we ask everyone.
Yeah.
Do you go there for strength, or do you?
no, they're not. They're special questions. We write them every time.
Do you go there to say, "I'm going to be different"?
Probably the latter. Go there to say I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to treat like business differently. I'm going to. It's a bit of a like tightrope to walk to answering that question. But I do, yeah, I would say that I go there for examples of how I can, change and do things differently. Yeah.
Have you ever heard the concept that you choose your parents?
No, not entirely.
So for me, when I first heard that, the person telling me that, this is back in 1982. The person that was drinking, the person that was telling me that was drinking soy milk out of one of those ultra pasteurized, like wax
1982,
cardboard.
Wow. Soy milk.
Yeah. And I thought, this guy's a wackadoodle. And I bring this up a lot because it was such a turning point for me in my life that finally brought me to the place where my opinion mattered than anyone's opinion.
More than.
More than. And up until that point, I did everything to please my parents. And I put myself in second place. And then once I got into first place, then everything started to really come together for me.
Yeah.
And I could see what my passions were, what I really wanted to do, not what someone was thinking I should do, and blah, 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 all that good stuff.
Getting back to mentors, seems like you have a couple, probably some I don't even know about still.
Mhm.
But so far I know of two. What would you say is the most valuable piece of advice that one of the mentors has given you throughout this process? Can you remember the story of the moment and surrounding circumstances?
Yeah, I would say just do. Instead of, you don't have to have everything checked off and everything in line before, embarking on something, because I'm kind of the type of person, like, it took me, I'd say, a good month to nail down what plastics I was going to be using for in the pink. I can get a little too into the details. And so they're kind of like, you need to, took me, I'd say, a week or so to choose like which theme I wanted on the website and colors and all that. I was going back and forth between the 50 options that they have. So I can definitely, that's probably not my strongest suit. And it was just, just pick something, go with it, action, and then you can always change. You can always, change things around once it's done. But getting it in place, getting things done, and getting to that spot where you can move on from there. Because otherwise, I kind of would get a little bit too technical with everything.
So if you're going to go out on your own, you have to leave the perfectionist
Yes.
self
Yeah.
behind
Mhm.
and just move forward.
Yeah.
And right, you're giving yourself permission to change.
Yeah.
Initially or afterwards.
Gail said she's had an acai bowl before also. Gail, did you like your acai bowl? Just out of curiosity, let me know. So what would you say is the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself through this whole process?
Whole process.
Dad, was that on your mind?
I would say that I am more of a people person than I thought I was before,
Oh.
I had worked in the same place with the same people for a very long time. I feel like I wasn't branching out, getting out there and networking and meeting people. Because what we did was, it's kind of a niche around here. as far as, underground utility construction, installing fiber optics and activating all the fiber. And I was just meeting with basically project managers, PMs at Cox, Charter, Verizon, providers of that sort. So getting out and meeting just a whole plethora of new people has been probably the best thing that's happened to me.
Ah,
Yeah.
I've got something, but you look like you have something to say.
I find, and I learned this from playing tennis, whoever my opponent was dictated my level of play.
Yeah.
So if I played with someone who was really good, it seemed like I was this really good tennis player. And that's what I find when I interact with people. It feels like my best self rises up
Hmm.
for me and the conversation with that person. Where if I sit alone and try and come up with those ideas,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. When I need to create clarity or support for myself, yes, meditation
yeah.
and being alone is it.
Hmm.
But then once that happens and I'm ready to go, I want to talk to as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah. So I think that's the idea with me, is just surrounding myself with people smarter than me, more successful than me. And, I can't go, there's no downside to that.
How'd you go about doing that?
Going to just events like restaurant, food shows, networks, meeting people from distribution companies, and just really just asking. Okay, so if I would meet someone for packaging, then I would ask them, okay, so you've been doing this a long time. What do you think about this aspect of the restaurant industry, or how can I do this better? Because these people are all connected. There's a huge, huge network of these people in New England for restaurant industries. That's basically, it was just asking and being forward. And I think you'd be surprised that people actually do want to help you.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, I'm learning
Yeah,
that.
people
now.
do want to help.
I find
The
that
majority of people.
If you're someone who doesn't like to help people, put a thumbs down in the comment box. Go ahead.
I find it absolutely amazing of the industries that I've been involved with. The people in the food business seem to want to help each other more than any other industry that I've dealt in.
Probably 'cause they know how brutal it can be.
How
and difficult.
brutal.
Yeah.
Everybody's also happy because you're eating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I think it's the brutal part and what it actually
Right.
takes.
Yeah.
I like my eating theory better.
Just the licensing alone
Yeah.
in Rhode Island. And the failure rate is so great
Mm.
that, they want to see more and more people succeed.
Yeah, and they'll help you avoid the mistakes and pitfalls that they made. Because who would want to see? You have to be a certain kind of person to want to see someone fail or make like mindless mistakes that they don't need to make.
Speaking of mistakes and pitfalls, the real purpose of the show is to share those types of things so that other people don't have to go through them. So if you do something which I don't do enough, which is let the gears in your brain turn for a second and use it. Mine just kind of sits dormant half the time. But
You don't believe that?
what would you say are the biggest mistakes you've made during the process of this, or even just from life in general? If there's one big mistake that you feel you would like to pass on to others,
So
tell us the story of the day or moment you learned the lesson.
while you're thinking of that, the podcast is also a time capsule.
Wait.
Okay, go
On the
ahead.
gun. I would say
It's too much pressure if you ask that. No.
possibly being too trusting of people. So throughout the franchising scenario that I was going through, I ended up the people that I could tell the guy was kind of just like a used car salesman, but I kept going there, kept going through the motions and just being a little too trusting, and finally it all turned out in the end that I was right, but yeah, that's something I had to look out for.
So would you say you now?
I think everyone learns that lesson
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I trusted someone. We were going to start something together. and I made the investment, and then he disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, it would have been fine. I mean, obviously we're kids, so all he would have, and it was small investment also. Like, it was nothing.
Yeah.
However, we both agreed to it. Everything was figured out. If all that this individual would have had to do is say, I don't want to do this.
Mhm.
It's fine. No biggie. We just wouldn't have done it, or we would have found an alternative.
Just disappeared.
But instead, just disappeared.
Yeah, ghosted.
And he lives down the
Yeah.
street, so that's even
Really?
funnier.
That's when I learned that
Yeah,
expression.
ghosted.
Because he was telling me he ghosted me, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
I
geez.
use that term.
Yes, my age is showing again. I didn't know what that was. So it's really crucial to be able to be very clear on what you're hiring someone to do.
Mhm.
And then
Set the tone from day one too.
from day one, this isn't a party. This is something we all want to succeed in, something we'll all benefit from. And then to really read the person so that you get past the BS. So you really know what that person,
And you knew for my case, you
did,
knew.
yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you. I keep
Oh,
interrupting you.
You knew.
And he told me, and I didn't listen, and I did it anyway. But that was one of the, he talks about letting me fail. So he did, like he always says, and I lost.
Learning experience.
But now I know more than I would have ever known if I hadn't done that.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
very young.
everyone does that at some
Yeah.
point. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry to
I spent
interrupt. you.
about 2 months, like I said, with this person, franchising, going back and forth, and then at the end of it, come to find out that there was. I just finally said, cannot expect me to make this financial investment without knowing anything about the finances of this, and come to find out, I learned that their costs are like out of control. I'm sure their franchisees are not making too much money. So I was like, all right, I can't do this. I'm obviously not going to take this any further. I've wasted about 2 months, but I said to myself, that
No.
wasn't a waste at all because I learned a lot. I learned a lot of valuable lessons, and it actually set me on the path of where I'm going with this as well.
No quinces in life, no waste of time.
Yeah.
What did you learn from it?
I learned. So it was a restaurant. It was like a quick service restaurant as well, and I learned a lot about how operations go and how, like, locations and all that. I also just learned that you really have to have your guard up too at a lot of times when business wise. So
How old are you? 35, right?
35.
35.
So 50 years from now, looking back at this point in your life,
Mhm.
have you gone that far?
When you're as old as I am,
85, Yeah.
No, you're not 85 yet. Just shy, Dad.
just shy.
How do you want to look back on this era?
I think it's gonna be one of the most exciting times of my life. This is when it's all just taking off. So it was just, I look back at it favorably.
What would your ideal day look like as an 85-year-old?
As an 85-year-old, I guess
Oh, good morning. I'd
Yeah.
like my coffee.
sitting at my beach house, vacation home, kids, grandkids out over for vacation, and just enjoying life.
Living the dream.
Eating an acai bowl still.
Yeah.
There you go. What does
Acai
your
paired with medications.
Yes, blend it right in.
no medications?
That's right. Hopefully no medications.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome to think. I mean, this is really
The beginning.
a beginning, a critical time in your life, and to look back and think it was the start of everything for you.
Yeah, I have a lot of opportunity ahead of me. I've made some strategic partnerships. I feel like I have had good mentors, as Julius mentioned. So I'm set up for success, and it's as you said, I'm in control. The ball's in my court. So where it goes from here is completely up to me.
So then, the message that I hear is, don't be afraid of creating your network,
Mhm.
even if you misjudge sometimes, and you want to think everyone is your supporter and best friend.
Yeah.
So a lot of people choose to go it alone.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid someone's going to take advantage of them
Or mess it up. Or do
mess it
wrong.
up. Or so your message is forget all that. Just go for it.
Yeah. So the people that I partnered up with, they have been in the restaurant industry collectively, it's a father and son, 60 years at least.
Oh,
Yeah.
how old are they?
I think the father's 69 and the son is 40 or 41.
Okay.
But they own the space, or they're leasing the space that I'm going to be moving into
Oh,
on Thayer Street. And
it's where the Pokeworks is now
Yes,
for those
yep.
who are Thayer Street.
so my friend does a lot of their refrigeration and HVAC work. He knew I was looking for a space to roll out my own concept, acai bowls, smoothies, cold pressed juice. So he said, "Oh, you have to meet these people. They're looking to sublet their space." Went in. They said, "All right, so what do you want to do here?" I showed them the vision and the idea, and they said, "Oh, wow! Like that's actually a very good idea. There's nothing like that up here. I don't even think there's a place to sell smoothies on Thayer Street."
Tropical
And
smoothie.
They've been at no, they left. They were on.
Oh, they left?
They were on a second floor
Yeah.
location. The second floor is tough, very tough in any retail. But I was leaving and I said, okay, it's like, what did I just do? All right, I just walked in to two people who own about 30 restaurants collectively. They've been doing this for 6 years. I gave them my idea, and they said, "Oh, wow, that's actually a great idea." And I said, I thought for sure they're gonna say, "Thanks, kid. See you later. We already have the space, isn't that?" But no, they actually wanted to sit down and talk. They said, "You've never done this before. You're green. Like, let's take a small percentage." And I negotiated it down, and and they were like, "Let us help you."
Let's
and
take a small percentage. How about 70%?
yeah, let us help you. You've never done this before. This is like not an easy route to go without. And so immediately I would said, "Oh yeah, for sure, okay." But as you said, a lot of people that I ran this by before I went into partnership with them. No, you don't need them. You don't need them. Do it yourself. You don't need them. And I said, okay, so let me think about this for a second. I can either give them a small percentage and have their vast network of resources and knowledge. And, if I'm 6 months in and I am just, my head is spinning, I don't know what to do. I don't know which end is up. I have someone to turn to and rely on. Or I don't, and I just say, what did I just get myself into? So it was an easy decision for me, but a lot of people tried to say, you don't need to do that. Screw that. No, you don't need to give them any percentage. Keep it all yourself. This is your thing. But I ultimately made the decision myself, obviously,
How,
which I feel was definitely the right decision.
how did you feel in that moment when you put the pen to paper to sign away a percentage, to be dramatic, a percentage of your baby?
Didn't feel. I felt like it was the right decision. They've been
You
very.
didn't feel any sense of loss, or
No, they've been very fair and very good to me. And even with this whole process of starting this restaurant, they've given me a lot of, like I said, networks and resources, and they've actually saved me money using their people and people that they know and have been using for 30 years in the restaurant industry.
No, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Most people lose their minds because they're giving away something they feel is so valuable.
Yeah.
Because it is,
Yeah.
to be fair to them also.
I love the creative aspect of it. Yeah, that's probably been one of the most fun things about doing all this.
So now to take a turn, as someone who's 35 years old, what would you say is the biggest challenge facing your generation in the 2023s?
So I feel I'm kind of right in the middle of these millennials and I am a millennial, I guess. Yeah, I'm in the middle of the.
It's better than being a Gen, what am
Yeah,
I? Gen
whatever it is
Z,
now.
Gen X. I hate all that.
So I don't really have that those stereotypes that we deal with, and then also you had like the hardworking boomer generation, and I feel like we're kind of right in the middle of there. Like, I think work ethic is probably something that people struggle with, like around my age, I'd say. Um, but I'd say the biggest challenge would be for I'm not just speaking for myself, but in general, student loan debt, um, and just the economic landscape in general right now. Starting a business, it's can be very very rough.
Did you go to college?
I did. I went to Bryant.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Do you think about that? Like, oh my God, what am I doing with
do.
all this looming? So, how have
Did you-
you underwritten the risk in your mind? How have you?
So my target market would be college age kids over in that area and affluent. So you have the east side of Providence, Brown University, JWU, Wheeler, Moses Brown. The majority of these kids, they're not cooking in their dorm rooms at all.
And they're not spending their own money.
They're not spending their own money. They have mom and dad's credit card for the most part. So
They want to adopt?
that's what everyone says. Like, oh, you're starting this when we're about to go into a recession. As
Right, I have
or
questions about that.
we have technically been in a
We're in
recession.
one. but
Yeah,
go ahead.
are in one. And I say most of these kids don't even know what the word recession means. They don't know what it is. They're not going to change their lifestyle. That age is not going to feel a recession. Not like, if I were opening in East Greenwich, say I were to go open on Main Street, I think that if we hit a recession, I would be in big trouble.
Right.
It's a totally different location, totally different set of circumstances.
Perfect.
So I think that I'll be fine. It's almost recession proof in that area.
What about a challenge that you see people around you facing that are your age? Or that
Housing.
housing?
Yeah. So anyone who's in the housing market right now, as I was, but not, starting a business, I'm in no position to buy a home now. But we still look, and I just can't believe what homes are going for. Interest rates, obviously very tough, but those will come down. It's not. But I don't know if this is the new normal for buying a home. And I mean, that's the reason we sold our home. I had 2 kids, and we had already outgrown it with the 2 kids, never mind one on the way. So you need space. It's going to be difficult.
Everything goes in cycles.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Julius.
I'm reading through the list here of pre-brought up things, and there are a couple big ones here. So I guess we'll go with, was your upbringing a help or a hindrance in making this big life decision?
It's definitely a help. My parents were very supportive, and financially as well. So I always had a job. I always had what I needed, in every sense of the word. And it was definitely a help. They were great parents, and supported me in whatever I wanted to do. When I left working for my father, he said, okay, he said, maybe if this business is not what you want to do, maybe you'll find your passion, what you do, what makes you, go move forward.
Was college worth it?
No, overall. I studied finance and economics, and that's the thing. When I got out, I went back to work for my father because I had plans of taking over that business. And then when I left there, my first instinct was, okay, go get a finance job in Boston or something, something of the sort. And looking into that, the starting pays are really not much, which I understand you have to start somewhere. But I was also looking at commuting from Cranston to Boston with at the time, 18-month-old and an infant at home. So I would be going probably 16 hours a day at least, which I think that's going to be the case for the restaurant too, but hopefully it's just for a short amount of time.
Right.
Maybe a year, 18 months until I can get a manager in there and move on to a second location, third location. But that looking at the commute and the quality of life that I'd be working in finance, probably sitting in a cubicle in Boston, it's for some people, I'm sure they love it, but it's not for everybody.
This is a tough question to answer. Oh, do you want to ask something?
When you stop judging yourself, like when I stopped saying it's not enough, it's not good enough, I can always do better. Even when I would accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish.
Mhm.
Once I stopped doing that, I had no need to judge other people.
Yeah.
And that like opened me up to like yet another whole existence or world
Really.
in my life, because I started to see all these things, and all my preconceived notions about a company, a person. When I stopped wholesaling, I went to look at manufacturing
Mhm.
companies because, I was on the financial side and I wanted to make something.
Yeah.
And it was like I could tell the minute I walked in to a company by the receptionist exactly what that company was going to be like.
Morale and all that.
The
Yeah.
whole thing.
Process.
And
Yeah.
what became really scary was the dramas and complexity
Mhm.
seemed to be the same in almost every company that I looked at.
Really.
Just different players.
Yeah.
And then you walk in and you say, this, and this are all wrong. And they would look at me like, you've been here a couple
Yeah.
of
What do you know?
hours.
Yeah.
How do you know this? And I would say, Am I on point?
Yeah.
And they'd say, yeah.
Wow.
So in life, again, when I could give myself the opportunity to look at things clearly,
Hmm.
because you're going to be hiring a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I never looked at, I never used their history or their qualifications is the primary determinant of whether I would hire them.
Mhm.
Can you remember a person you hired?
Yes.
By the way, have you two drawn anything?
No.
I've not.
No
No.
time.
Yeah,
It's
don't worry
hard
about it.
enough
I was curious. I was
doing
like,
the questions.
drawn
A little
anything?
distracting. Yeah.
Yes. So this was hiring a investment wholesaler, and I was sitting across the table from this guy. He was in his 50s. He'd done it a long time.
You were how old for context?
So how old would I have been? You were.
I was born, so
Well, this
40s.
is 15 years ago.
Hmm.
And he felt too good to me.
Really.
He felt too right to me. It seemed like
Perfect hire.
he was it. And I'm saying to myself, can't be. And there are no free lunches. He cannot be
Too good to be true.
too good to be true. And I said, I'm not going to do this.
Really.
And it was, I got overridden by the chairman of the company,
Wow.
and they hired him. And then after that, no one had any say in who I hired
Really.
because he was too good to be true. It was all, he spent all his time creating this persona
Really.
based on what he thought you wanted, other than doing his job and accomplishing something real. So he was like so slick and perfect, right down to how he dressed and looked, and
Fake it till you make it. All right.
but to a level I had
Yeah.
never seen it. It
That's
just
amazing.
it wasn't sitting right with me.
Yeah.
And then after that, I never questioned myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't allow anyone to override me. So
So has it helped you on the other end of things where if someone maybe doesn't look up to par, but you're able to see past other things and see a value in that person and
all the
look at
time.
different characteristics? Yeah.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks,
Mhm.
but you can teach a pup if they have the qualities that you're looking for. But you have to be 100% clear
Yeah.
on what you're looking for.
Set expectations. Yeah.
Like, this is what this person, regardless of their history or background, this is what I need them to do. And watching the people that are going to work at In the Pink,
Hmm.
this is the ideal person across that counter
Yeah.
that I need to have.
Yeah.
And I can tell what their personality traits are. I can tell what their work ethic is, blah, 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 blah. And then you have that in your head. And then it's really easy to interview and hire.
Yeah.
I'm
Very-
looking forward to all this at some point. So, I have two questions for you that are both difficult to answer. There you go.
Great.
The anxiety level
Great.
just went
Great.
from X to Z. So, what is the biggest anxiety that you think you've experienced throughout your life?
Probably feeling incompetent to like
When was this?
probably at my last job. You know, feeling is it's almost like, okay, I'd come into work and I'd say, oh, he's the boss's son. One of those dynamics, you know. Oh yeah, he gets and as long as I was getting my work done, I could come and go as I pleased, you know. So it was one of those type of things. And it was just I constantly felt that, you know, like self-consciousness all the time. And that's why it was not the best environment for me to be working in. And as I said before, I think I stayed about 10 years too long, 10 years longer than I should have. And it was just for
A
that
long time.
comfort, security, you know, getting a paycheck. And I think that's, like I said earlier, that's one of the worst things that I think that people can do is stay in a job that they do not like or is a dead end job for a paycheck or for health benefits. I understand if people have to do it, you know, you have to put food on the table, you have to provide, but it's not good for your mental health, your spirit, any of it.
So do you feel so much freer now, even with all the
I
anxiety
do, yeah.
and
That's
all the
my next
risk?
question.
Yeah.
Are you like,
Yeah. I feel like a different person. I feel like I am who I was like put here to be and doing what I was put here to do. And I just feel like the sky is the limit. And, you know, I start with this. I have other business ideas and other businesses I would like to open in the future, but I always wanted to open a business. I always wanted my own business. And I feel like for a long time, I just was staying somewhere that I said, okay, you're going to take this over and you're going to be the owner's son who took over, you know, and still the owner's son, you know,
there are so many people that I know
frequent. Yeah.
that have calculated how many days there are to their retirement.
Yeah.
And each day in their head, they check it off.
Yeah.
That, to me, is not the backdrop to be your best.
Yeah. It's not, you're not guaranteed your retirement. You're not guaranteed to live
You're not guaranteed anything.
tomorrow.
Guaranteed a pension
Yeah.
either.
It's like
No.
it's like everything else. When you think there's a guarantee or safety,
Yeah.
it's always the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't.
Yeah.
You're fooling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So take that off the table
Yeah.
when you're thinking, I can't do this. I won't be able to do this.
Mhm.
Because, you know, like I'm safe now. The reality is you're not safe.
Yeah. You're not. Yeah.
So,
That's the myth.
speaking of death, which is a lovely topic.
Well, we're speaking of death.
Yeah, you said you know, you could die tomorrow.
Yeah.
There you go. There's my segue. Do you think about that? If you did die tomorrow, would you be happy with what you leave behind?
I do. With what I leave behind at this moment, I wouldn't be, you know, I would feel that I haven't done enough as of this moment. But I would be happy that I, you know, kind of found myself and
Ah,
stepped out of my comfort zone
ah.
this past, it's only been about 6 months, 7 months, you know, really stepped out of my comfort zone and took initiative and embarked on this new venture. And I've never had anything to do with the restaurant industry before. And it's just like it's almost like the stars are aligning and everything is, I'm meeting the right people. I met those partners that I met. I met a mentor in a different field as well. You know, I met you guys at Starbucks. It just feels like everything is
Yeah, that was
going towards the right direction.
I thought you were a brand consultant.
Yeah, that's funny. Yep.
So to rephrase that question better, what pops into your head when you're thinking about that?
About what?
What it would be like if it all ended tomorrow?
But I do want to say one thing. That is incredible that you've gotten to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
really, Chris.
I'm not good with compliments. I'm working on it.
I know, but
Thank you.
I'm really happy for you.
my wife, I don't think I would have ever done any of this if not for my wife. She's been pushing me from behind all along and my biggest cheerleader, you know?
Then she's extraordinary.
Yeah, she is. Yes.
You found the right one.
Hmm. Absolutely. Very lucky.
So before we get to some questions and comments from the audience, I want to give everyone the opportunity. If you have any questions, advice, anything you'd like to share with us, please type it in the chat, or you can call us at 401-787-3995. We love to hear your founding story, your piece of advice, your little nugget for someone who's reinventing themselves at 35, which
Mhm.
is an incredible undertaking. So if you have anything to share, please, the number's on the screen, or send us a message in the box. Well, go ahead.
So, was the restaurant business something you toyed with your whole life in your head? Or after doing all the franchise?
So when LA Fitness
Investigating.
first came to Cranston, Garden City, it was probably 10, 12 years ago now. I actually contacted their corporate, and I was in talks with their management about opening a smoothie bar in that LA Fitness. So, and it's the same typical setup. I think there's a franchise fee. I'm not sure. I don't remember if there was any royalties as far as gross sales, but there probably was. But I was about 23 at the time, and I just wasn't ready. I wasn't in the state of mind, and I wasn't serious enough, and I was too comfortable working, somewhere where I had a lot of flexibility to go out with my friends and, do what I wanted. So, but I looked into the opportunity a lot, and I got pretty far with it, talking to corporate, but just never really pulled the trigger and did anything with it. But so that was in the back of my head all along. And I actually totally forgot about that until I left. I was doing this venture, and I talked to my wife's uncle, who was the CEO of a very large marketing firm in New York. He's retired now. But he said, "Oh, you talked to me about this 12 years." He said, "You're revisiting this again." And I was like, wow, I actually totally even forgot about that. So it's almost really come full circle.
Has he been helpful?
Yes. Yeah. He has very much, bouncing ideas off him and design and taglines, all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I love
Wealth of information.
I
Yeah.
love how your first store is going to look.
Look,
Thank you.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very inviting.
Thank you.
I can't wait. I
by the way, viewers at home, if this stream ends all of a sudden, it's not my fault. A bug just crawled into the vent on my computer, so
Oof.
let's see if it comes out. If you had to pick one fascinating fact to share with me about anything, what would it be?
One fascinating fact to share about anything.
See, these big random questions are so easy to answer, aren't they?
Yeah. One random fact to share about anything.
when have you ever been blown away by something or someone besides me?
Yeah, of course.
I can give you this one, which I'm sure many people know at this point. It took Edison 1,000 tries to get the light bulb,
Yeah.
and he didn't stop.
1,000 tries. Yeah.
1,000 tries. 1,000 explosion, broken, reasons to give up.
It reminds me of like the 10,000 hour rule too.
What is that rule? There are a lot of songs named 10,000 hours.
So you're not.
This doesn't qualify
truly-
as the answer to the
Yeah.
question. though.
You're not truly an expert in field until 10,000 hours of practice.
Okay.
So
Figured it was something along those lines.
yeah.
Anything fascinating pop into your mind?
But I've never been qualified for a single thing I ever did in my life.
Yeah.
On paper.
Got you very far.
On paper.
Really.
And that's what when there are people stuck and are afraid and say, I have to get more education or I have to get more experience,
Hmm.
I tell them that,
Yeah.
kind of jokingly,
Yeah.
and hope that it doesn't all have to be perfect. everything doesn't line up. If you're really in your truth,
Yeah. And
And-
just take action and do. Yeah. Put yourself out there. Yeah.
Before
just
we
like
reach,
you did.
Before we reach some of our, I'm in an interrupting mood tonight. Before we reach some of our final stories for this episode, I already said this sort of, but now I'll say it properly. If you would like to learn more about In the Pink or explore the opportunity to join their team, please visit the link in the description or their grand opening sometime around June 1st. We'll be there, so we'll
Mhm.
be looking forward to seeing you there.
Or if you know anyone that's looking for a job or is unhappy in the job that they're in now and like to branch out,
Yeah.
try something new, let us know.
So, with everything that you've experienced in your life so far, what's one piece of advice that you would pass on to a 16-year-old or future generations of young people?
Just don't be afraid to interact with people and talk to people. I feel like this generation, a lot of them are very closeted. I saw a parent with their daughter, I believe it was, at Starbucks not too long ago, and this girl had to be 16, 15, 16 years old. They were trying to force her to order her own coffee, I'm sure it was social anxiety, whatever it was, but I feel like that is very prevalent today, and I think a lot of it goes back to social media and how these kids are on their phones and mobile devices way, way, way too young, and they're not getting any real social interaction. So it'd be just get out there in the real world, put yourself out there, and just don't be afraid to fail.
It's
too.
scary. It's
Yeah.
really scary. We went to a
You're
thing in
doing it.
Boston. It's scary.
You're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any easier when you do it.
Yeah.
And I do it very little, but
But it's just like public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The more you do it,
Yeah.
the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't want to talk to you in that setting, we went up to a BevNet meet and greet, and
John Craven, if you're listening, shout out. Thank you. You were very nice.
extremely,
And everyone I spoke to, really.
yeah, everyone there was like we were.
I mean, they spent a very long time
Yeah.
speaking with me, and who am I?
Yeah.
You know, I was really amazed.
He was really nervous going up, although he didn't admit it because it was his first thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, the nervousness only settled. We walked down this long hallway. They gave us the thing. We didn't really have our name yet, so we had an interesting name that I'm sure a lot of people looked at me and went, "You're nuts." So that helped the anxiety thing. And then we walked into the room.
we didn't. We left the samples in the car.
Really.
Yeah, well, anyway, long story short,
uh-oh.
we were late. That's why we didn't do samples. But anyway,
That's not true.
anyway,
Oh, no, the being
we
late
did
part
give
was
out some
true.
samples.
But John Craven tried it
Really.
and gave us his comments and told Julius, "You can call me anytime." Like he was incredibly
Now you're putting him on the spot, though. If someone else goes to him and he doesn't do that, he's going to get in trouble.
Chances are they had help to get to where they are.
exactly.
You know.
Well, he said that
Yeah.
his dad helped him.
What
Well,
a
the only
great-
thing I didn't like was I was told I was old. Too many.
by,
no one ever
by
liked
someone else. Yeah, that was really funny. So when did this all start for you? Starting this business, just like a time frame.
6-ish.
6 months
6
ago.
months ago.
Okay, so 6 months ago. What's the craziest day that you've had in this
Craziest
16-month?
Day I've had.
Like that's like a sore thumb in your brain. There you go. Nice job, metaphor.
Probably getting about 3 or 4 large invoices all for whatever reason. They all came through invoice on the same day. Pretty rather large invoices. So that was.
You're having it. You're.
It's gonna happen again in the next couple of weeks. I know it is.
How about you, Dad? What's the craziest day you've had in the last 6 months? See, that's a hard question not to think about for a minute. By the way, guests in the audience, if you at home have had a weird day in the last 6 months, call us. Love to hear it. It's fun. Trying to think what my answer would be also. See, it's hard. It's hard.
It's hard to. Well, I'm just amazed at the synchronicity of things.
Mhm.
Like, I'll mention someone's name out of the blue, and it's like clockwork now.
Yeah.
The next day, we run into them.
Wow.
Or we've all had the experience. You think of someone and the phone rings, it's them.
Mhm.
But, that would happen rarely. In the last 6 months, I don't know what it is, but all that has sped up
Really?
in terms of numbers and like almost immediate.
Yeah.
So I don't know what all that is other than kicking off the chai business, but
Yeah. It's a universe, right?
if you put it out there. Oh, one of the guests that we had on passed away, and we went to a life celebration, which I'd never been to one of those.
I haven't either. Heard of them.
And I must tell you, I enjoyed them much more than a wake.
Yeah.
And although I will say, one of my best friends, his service was a life celebration. Even though it wasn't called that,
Yeah.
we went and everyone got up and spoke, and we found out all these wonderful things about Steve.
Really?
And I was so moved by that. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, Saturday, we went to another one in Newport. And it was really incredible. It took this lady's illness to really make her understand the benevolent network
Mhm.
of humans that exist. In your experience with
Her
the
name is Posey,
mentors,
by the way.
Posey, your experience with all the mentors are talking to different people. If you just let it happen, all these
Organically,
people
yeah.
just right. You're not forcing anything. You just put yourself out there, and then all of a sudden this network
Yeah.
just shows up, or you bump into someone in Starbucks.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
You just don't know where it's going to come from.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to experience the mark she left
On all the people in the room.
in that room, and that whole benevolent network
Yeah.
that she just realized in her 70s.
She put a bunch of kids through college,
Really?
and
and a bunch
it's-
of
it's-
middle-aged women who always wanted to go,
Really?
never had the opportunity. It was incredible.
and she founded a museum. But anyway, it's also amazing to see that the actions she took in her life will now impact everyone
Yeah. You're leaving
and
a
all the
legacy.
stories they were telling. So we're not done yet, but I'm going to say thank you all for tuning in tonight. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend to help support this channel. I will leave you tonight with this quote. I feel like I have a job to do, like I constantly have to reinvent myself. The more I up the ante for myself, the better it is in the long run. Close quote. Any guesses?
Any guesses?
Steve Jobs.
That's what I was going to
No.
say. That's what I was going to guess. Actually, that was my first guess.
Believe it or not, Kevin Hart.
Really? Kevin Hart. Okay.
Dad, do you know who he is?
No.
Comedian. Yeah.
If Marge is watching, Marge knows Kevin Hart.
Actor now, too.
All right, I'm going to say goodnight, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
And we really look forward to In the Pink
Thank you.
opening, and we wish you more success than you imagine.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I wanna see